So this question might sound kind of simple, but it probably has multiple levels to it, which is um, what can communities of faith do outside of their own communities? And there are people, especially in the political Northwest, that are maybe distrustful of religion in general, or
Mm.
have had their own traumatic experience with their religious upbringing, and kind of sort of keep communities of faith at arm's length. They think, they've got the wrong value set or wrong analysis or whatever. And so there is this kind of schism between the secular communities and the religious communities on some level.
Mhm.
Can can religious communities who care about these values of nonviolence play a role in places like Portland, for example, where a lot of the hot debates don't seem to have anything to do with religious communities at all? They seem to be sort of political activists on the left and political activists on the right clashing. Can those communities of faith play a role in those types of settings?
Yeah. I think again, it comes back to this question of where is the trust? And if if a faith community's core work, um, their good works or community service, whatever it is, doesn't intersect with people in the community who are having extremist discussions, it's very hard for them to just wade in and say, I'm the avenging angel who's going to come set you all right. And there's a faith leader we work with closely in Portland who is wonderful. I mean, she's dynamic and caring and all, but she always cautions, like, we're not the be all end all respective voices that people might like to think. People are skeptical towards us too. So I think it's not so much that faith communities can go out and be visible just on a dime on an issue. Um, I think it's more, can they amongst within themselves build more resilience, just as you and I are talking about how we've been changed by working on this project? Can they change their own approach towards escalation, to polarization, and in so doing, what does that call them to do? So I think it all the work that touches on the faith communities has to emanate from their discernment of what they're called to do and what's beneficial to their community. And every time I've tried to go and say, hey, I think we should go do this, it doesn't really catch, because it doesn't speak to where they are. And they're all super busy, these faith leaders. But when we have the chance to talk about what we're doing, and then to ask, is there some piece of this that resonates for you, or is there some way that you would want to get involved? We've had a number of faith leaders and faith communities want to be in connection with us, in community with us, and I see the trajectory that is heading, and I'm really encouraged by it. But if you think back to the summer of 2020 in Portland, when there were all those images of people on the street, battling with one another, all those people, I'm willing to say, they were driven by desires to participate and maybe do good as they saw it. But a lot of hate also got stirred up. And so I think when you look at Portland in particular, there's a rawness of, and a lack of trust about being seen publicly, taking a stand on issues that could boomerang back against you. And so that is a reality that our work has to take into account.
Yeah, I felt a lot of that in 2020. That it was a complex phenomenon. I kept getting asked by the media, like, who are these people? And I'm like, there's all kinds of things going on here, including maybe a few agent provocateurs thrown in there, as well as people that are just in the mood to fight, as well as people that are coming because they have real value connections and they feel like this is a tipping point. And then there's a whole bunch of people who care about this issue, but now feel alienated from it because of the images that they're seeing from downtown Portland. So there was a lot going on in those moments, and it seems like maybe this is a caricature that communities of faith represent a certain amount of calm and stability.
Mhm.
Things go like this politically, they're up and
Yeah.
down, and there are these sort of faith communities that are sort of consistently there, centering around values, and can have those conversations about what those core values are. I'm always reminding my students that Martin Luther King is a doctor of divinity. He wasn't an eye surgeon.
Yeah.
He was a Southern preacher. So there is that connectivity that sometimes allows us to kind of check back in with what really needs to be accomplished. And I appreciate that. As someone who is sort of a recovering Presbyterian, as I like to refer to myself, I appreciate when those communities can show up. But of course, it's partisan. I like when the liberal churches show up, and I got all kinds of anger at the churches
Right. Yeah.
that
I mean, there's
are values that are contrary to mine. So
yeah, I mean, we talk about wanting uh faith communities speak out on, all kinds of issues, but if they say something we don't like politically,
right,
then
yeah,
we're not so happy. So
yeah,
I guess we have to be careful what we wish for. But this is why I think faith leaders and faith itself is such a powerful force in that it's speaking to our deepest desires, our desire for connection with one another, our desire for meaning, our fear that there isn't meaning. And so when in our work we are connected with these faith leaders who have all the questions we have, and yet are trying to minister to their people, it's inspiring. And I see, we have uh, a faith leader in our team who often will share a perspective on a topic that is, from where I would have looked at it straight on, he's coming at it at a diagonal, and yet it has a lot of resonance to me. So I do come back to the point that faith gives us sometimes a more resonant way to think about things. And um, political organizing often puts us back into separate camps. And we can say that our camp is good because we want X, Y, or Z. But at the end of the day, if we're all human and all have value, then um, that might not be the best starting point for trying to seek connectivity and depolarization, de-escalation.
yeah.